don't exactly need somebody telling you what to do the whole time. That's me. I get the empowerment of being like, F it, I don't want to deliver to him.
None of the jobs that I had I would describe as like bad jobs. Like they were all pretty good, but I just like hated them. I just like hated every job until I could ride a bike. And then I was like, once I started having bike work, it was just like every day I was like looking forward to it instead of being like dreading it. My name is Ponce Christie. I own CCC PDX. Which is a bicycle food delivery service and I guess just like general courier service here in Portland. The crazy thing is when we came to Portland, there was like, you know, maybe 25 or 30 bike messengers, and now our staff is like over 30, right? You're just like out there, you're like in the world. You're like actively participating in the world, and it's not, you're not, I feel like in a job, it's like you go somewhere and you spend your time and all of that, and I think you just see things and you're like, you're out in the world, you're riding your bike and you see stuff, people doing things and like get to engage with it.
What the hell they're doing?
You're outside, you're having fun, and it's like low stakes, even though it's kind of like high pressure, like there's like a lot of stuff to get done, but like at the end of the day, it is just food. No one's gonna die if you like are 15 minutes late. This is a bag. This is a custom add-on thing that I have because when it rains, it's nice to have a solid material here. Unbuckles for that. We've got, opens up. In here we got that I use to keep things warm. Got a pizza bag. Got another one of these. Got like a hard bottom in there to make sure it doesn't squish, you know. This is where I keep my stuff. It's an old coffee cup from earlier today. But yeah, in general, you know, put all your stuff in the bag. It's nice and big. You got the roll top. Roll it down. It keeps it nice and water resistant. Hello?
I am 888 is my Courier number, and my name is Jacob Randall Peltier. I was born in San Bernardino, California in 1983. I've been a courier with CCC for a year and like 4 or 5 months now. And prior to that, 8 years ago, I was a courier in Minneapolis for on and off for about 3 or 4 years. The thing that brought me into this line of work, I guess, was that it's just familiar. I don't have a driver's license and I never have. Biking, it was out of necessity, and I kind of just have a passion for bicycling in general. So it was something that I always kind of wanted to get back into since I left Minneapolis, or wanted to like prolong doing, because I kind of like felt like I started getting into being a bicycle courier while living in Minneapolis. And then when I moved here about 9 years ago, since then I saw couriers around and stuff, and I was like, hey, who do I get in contact with them?
Snowmobiles too, with like a full wool underlayer, hoodie, like pants under it.
And honest to God, Will, you all started like the following winter, or maybe even that winter.
The sense of community is what has kept me here, and just kind of like a sense of purpose. Being part of like a collective, I guess, is like a lot more interesting to me than just kind of being like another drone, because we're all kind of like here to help each other out, and it's not really like about the money. It's more about like, you know, a love for being outside and just doing like something that kind of like is like an underdog type of job, basically, in my opinion. It's just like we all work really hard, but then people like some people see it as a good thing and some people see it as like a not so good thing. So more so just because I think like they're like, oh, why do you do so much work, you know, and not get like a whole lot of like, I guess, like financial benefits out of it. But I guess there's like other benefits for that matter. So that's kind of why I stick with it.
Brutal. Look at this Blackwater. To 44th and Berta. It's pretty brutal. The odds that I will take random job X and just because I want to make more money and then be verbally abused for the next 9 months because the manager just is that way, I can't. I'd rather get rained on, you know, and make $5 an hour. My name is Devin Buttweiler. I have been a bike courier for something like 10 or 12 years now. A big contributing factor of like why stick with bike delivery is just the sheer fact that it's tip earning. So it's almost like a hack. I mean, anybody who earns tips knows what I mean, but yeah, you know, you're working retail like I did for years, you're only gonna make X amount of dollars when you're working, no matter how hard you work. If you can get 3 or 4 runs in an hour and each one is $2 tips, that turns that $7.50 an hour job into $14, $15, $20 an hour really easy, you know.
He's out of here.
The reason why it seems like bike delivery, being a courier, for food especially, will always kind of exist is it's like, to me, a niche in nature. There's an empty space in our infrastructure that can be filled by quick bike maneuvering, and you can always, in an urban environment, you can almost always beat the driver because of like simply locking up. The ability that I can go right up, ignoring all the one-ways, to the corporate building with that piece of paper that they wanted delivered, and I can lock up 5 feet from the door and walk in, will just save all the time compared to somebody trying to do the exact same thing on a 4-wheeled vehicle, you know. But yeah, the draw of bike delivery isn't even financial so much these days, because I think almost every time I do the math, I'm only making around $10 an hour. For the last few months, it's maybe been like that, where I'm on call for maybe a total of 46 hours a week, and I might make around 500 for the week.
When I first moved up to Portland, while I was doing CCC, I was also doing some Uber and Postmates and stuff. Just one, because it like gets you out going to different restaurants, and it sort of helped me to familiarize myself with a new city, right? And so I did do that for like, I don't know, 5 months, 6 months or so, and it was shitty, you know, like they would do things where they're like, oh, we're doing some sort of like promotion where if you run, you know, 10 deliveries or something, you get an extra $100, and then you run 9, and then that 10th one, you're sitting there for 2 or 3 hours, nothing comes, and it's like, all right, this is a scam. Like, you're clearly just like not going to give me the next one. It feels nicer to work for a smaller business, just in general. Like, it's a more human element. And you know, we have like the Discord and the radio and stuff, and there is like some sense of community around it, where there's like, we are all in it together, and like the choices you make and the things that you do have like a immediate effect on everything else that's happening.
No matter what, I either can't burn the CCC order, or I try to deliver it within 15 minutes. So like, whether that means burning the Uber order or like dropping it or what have you, like I'll do that, yeah, for sure. Like, the person that would take the hit would be Uber. So it's not even the loss of accountability, because I still feel bad about doing shit like that, because like either the person's not going to get their food on time, or they're going to have to deal with the coupon situation or what have you. And on that same vein, the reason why I prioritize CCC is because like I want CCC to have a good image. It's also why I'll change how I behave, whether I have a visible CCC logo or not. Like, I'll literally be more aggressive and reckless if I'm like this, versus if I have a huge CCC logo, I don't want people to even subconsciously be like, oh, that logo looks like the rider that was riding around over there. Like, I don't want that association. So it's like, it even changes the way I like ride around.
You think you can control us? As long as you don't show it, jeopardize your life.
Wow.
I've done some under the table stuff for Jimmy John's, and that would be like the most corporate thing I would say that I've done. Yeah, I've mostly just done like kind of more under the table or self-employed, non-corporate courier stuff thus far, but not that I wouldn't. It's just kind of like I try to go with small business aspect more so first, and try to support like the community in whatever way I can.
Effort. CCC has a few advantages, along with like in the past where I did independent contractor work for another company. The advantages of knowing the fixed restaurants in your client list psychologically make the job like easier in that way. And you can way easier build a rapport with those restaurants where, you know, today I was probably about 5 to 10 minutes behind picking up a pizza, and the owners of the pizza place texted CCC being like, "Where's the rider?" And when I walked in, they smiled and were like, "Oh, it's you." I'm not entirely sure if they were still like a little upset that I was behind. The order got delivered with over 10 minutes to spare. So I'd say mission successful, but I could have been there earlier. And since they know me and I'm not just a Door Dasher, they appreciate it. They're, oh, this guy, he shows up and he's fast and he rides away quick and has a good attitude. All those things they might like me for. You just never really get that out of working the apps.
Whenever we have high volume, people make really good money, and which is the way that apps handle it basically, is that like they kind of throttle you. Like they pay you less if you take a set. If you take 2 at a time, they're like, oh, you're gonna get less for each of those.
The apps reconfigured their algorithm and are paying their drivers less. The app is like, oh, now that we've had you for so long, let's reconfigure so that you're making 20% less. Just enough that you're frustrated, but you'll keep working, and you might even work harder now because you're making 20% less.
These companies, Uber, DoorDash, Grubhub, are kind of trying to preload the next industrial revolution, right? So like they're looking in the past at like the power of the internal combustion engine and how that totally changed everything, right? And then they're looking at the internet and how that totally changed everything. And so now what they're seeing is, you know, AI and like self-driving cars and drones and stuff. And all of these companies are just waiting for like the moment when they can replace their entire human like gig with robots, basically, which is like terrifying because something like 57 million people are involved with the gig economy in some way. I don't know exactly what percentage of those people are like relying on it, but it will, the way that they work, it will be an overnight, they will flip a switch basically, and all of those people will not have jobs anymore. I really do think that bikes are like important to the future. Like I think that we need, as a society, as a country, as a world, to embrace human-powered machines.
There will always be a need for like someone on a bike taking a piece of mail or a burrito or something.
As long as there's so many lower middle class people who rely on cycling as a way of transportation, then bike delivery will go with it.
With technology and people being able to see like what's going on around the world, I feel like biking is becoming more friendly to like the everyday persons.
If you want to ride bikes, if you want to be Courier, like you should try it. You should download, you should do an app. Like you should download an app and you should do it, because that's going to be the fastest and easiest way. Yeah, you just got to get out there. You just got to do it.